Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. You don't know, my name's Chad. Take a dive on sports. And sorry for the voice, but I'm getting sick this holiday weekend. So a little bit under the weather, but I got to press through, try to get this out here. So hopefully the sound's not too off. This is going to be the Week 16 recap video. Kind of go over how I did with my NFL picks, if I improved from the previous week, and some other scenarios that probably could play it out and possibly more teams clinch their playoff position. But before I dive into all that, if you could go ahead and give me a thumbs up, especially the content provider, really please you two guys. It helps put the channel out. You can also subscribe. Love you guys reviewing my work, and I love you all for doing that. And I mean, you subscribe. This costs you a dime. It helps me provide more content value for you. Last week I went 12-4, so I was looking to improve in this one. I didn't. I stayed the same. I also went 12-4 this week. I had some, I went 11 a couple games, and they may have cost me a few of those. But let's go ahead and kick it off with last Thursday with the playoff-style game in New York between the Jets and the Jags. Jaguars coming in there, riding high off their upset win of Dallas. Going to New York, trying to continue that trend, put pressure on Tennessee. The Jets are trying to stop the slide they're currently on. Zach Wilson seems to be a shell of his former self. White is still out. Flacco is just there. This offense has no life whatsoever. The defense is phenomenal. I mean, they gave Jacksonville as much as they could handle, and they couldn't really score that many points. It was a really good defensive showing with the Jets, just helping to stifle Trevor Lawrence, who only had he was 1 yard shy of 230 yards. No touchdowns. Antonine didn't have 100 yards. He only had 83. So they kept the power brokers of the Jags in check, but they're still able to mount 19 points. The offense just could not do anything, and I don't know what's wrong with the Jets right now in terms of offense. They started great in the beginning of the season, but now when it comes to push comes to shove, they're getting shoved around. And I don't know what the answer is, but the Jets just flayed flat. They're back on the tarmac, disassembled once again. And the Jags went in there, won 19-3. And then Saturday, Christmas Eve, was the slot of the majority of the NFL action. We're up to the Windy City where the Bears playing host to the Bills. Now they give the Bears much of love in this one, and they started off leading the Bills early. I mean, it's 10-6 at the half. So the Bears are trying to do what they were the best way. They're trying to put the best foot forward and give another playoff-bound team some trouble. And that only lasted a half. Both of them came screaming in there and just rattle off unanswered points in the second half. Ended up winning this game 35-13, clinching the AFC East, ensuring the Bears are a top 5 pick, and still going 2-0. Then we went out to Cleveland, where they were playing host to the Saints. And this one I was giving to the Browns just because of the playmakers they have. But this team does not gel well. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. It could be Baker. It could be Brissett. It could be Deshaun. Doesn't matter. This team does not perform consistently. They'll have flashes where they're great, and then they'll spend most of the time just looking the other direction as the other team runs away. This was another one. Deshaun Watson was horrible in this game. He couldn't complete 50% of his passes. He had a pick. Only 135 yards in the air. He's not going to do anything for you. Chubb was probably the only highlight for the Browns offense. Almost 100 yards rushing. I mean, they did have the halftime lead, so once again, they show they can do it. They can't be consistent, and they can't maintain it. Saints came back and win this game 17-10 to put the pressure on the Buccaneers in the NFC South and give me my first loss. Then we went to Kansas City, where the Chiefs playing host to the Seahawks. And this one I thought I thought it was going to be a little close. Kansas City didn't really run away with this game. Walker did his best for the Seahawks, try to keep him in. He had over 100 yards rushing. Kelsey was, of course, Mahomes' favorite target, over 100 yards receiving, but no touchdowns. But the Saints were able to continue on, strive. They did what they had to do. The defense stepped up when they had to. And the Chiefs ended up winning 24-10 to keep pressure on Buffalo for the number 1 seed in AFC. Then we have to Minnesota, where the Vikings playing host to the Giants. And this was another one that was going to be a close game, just because the Vikings have been playing lately. They start off the game flat, and then they want to come back from behind. Same thing happened here. The Giants were just taken to the Vikings. I mean, they were doing everything they possibly could. Daniel Jones was doing his best. He had over 300 yards passing. Saquon Barkley was also had a rushing touchdown. And it was just the Vikings just kept pushing the one, just kept battling back and battling back. I mean, the Giants were leading most of this game, and then getting tied towards the end at 24-all. And Joseph hit a game-winning 61-yard field goal to ensure the Vikings win, 27-24. Avoiding the Giants even, sniffing a playoff berth as of yet. Keeping the Vikings probably a good number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs. Then we have to Foxborough, with the Patriots playing host to the Bengals. And the Bengals were up early in this game, and they were dominating quite a bit. Joe Burrow had 375 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. His favorite target, T. Higgins, 128 of those yards and a touchdown. Then scoring 22 points in the first half, maintaining a good presence and forcing the issue. However, it was a tale of 2 halves. Just then they couldn't score anymore. New England's defense stepped up. New England's offense started to score. But every time, first touchdown, try to kick an extra point, missed. Second touchdown, go for 2-point conversion, failed. Third touchdown, try to go for extra point, missed. I mean, it was the special teams for the Patriots let them down in this game. They could have possibly put themselves in a good position to probably tie it and win it. But Cincinnati was able to hold on to beat New England 22-18 and continue to their presence of trying to win the AFC North. Then we head down to Charlotte, where the Lions come to town, and Lions were just on the roll. They've been dominating teams, putting up some massive points. And Carolina's just one of these teams that just continue to kind of punch above the weight class. It seems like when I pick them, they lose. When I don't pick them, they win. And this seems to be the latter. Now with Detroit, I just saw too much in them, but Carolina's looking at this opportunity as they have a shot at possibly getting the playoffs as a divisional winner with a losing record. It's a slim shot, but they just ran the ball. That's all they did. They ran that down the Lions' throats. They couldn't do much. Jared Goff had a phenomenal passing day, over 350 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. But Deontay Foreman was a beast for the Panthers, 165 yards on the ground and a touchdown. As the Panthers just ran over the Lions, 37-23. Having both these teams still kind of battling for a possible playoff position. But it should be interesting to find in 2 weeks with these 2 teams. Then Atlanta goes to Baltimore. Huntley once again starting. Ritter, and it's down to new QB1 in Atlanta. He only had 218 yards. Atlanta is just pretty much giving up on the season. They couldn't really do much of anything, and Baltimore was able to win 17-9, eliminating the Falcons from the playoffs and clinching a playoff position for Baltimore. Now it's do they get the home game when they win the division, or are they going to start on the road? That's the question for them. Then we head to Nashville. We had Houston come to town, and this one I did pick the Texans. I looked at this game and was like, no, these guys are going to come in. They're going to put up some points. Tennessee is just not themselves. Malik Willis was the starting quarterback. Tannehill's out. The offense just looks inept. Derrick Henry can't He always seems to get issues with the running. He doesn't always run. He actually caught the ball one time. So he had still had over 100 yards rushing and touchdown, but he did have a fumble. And the Texans were just doing what they had to do. They were just kind of nitpicking here and there, rotating out the quarterbacks. I mean, it was weird just watching this game, which they just bring in, Mills, and then Kevin Driscoll, and they just kept rotating the quarterbacks. But it worked. The Texans defense was stifled Tennessee, and the Texans won in Nashville 19-14, a game that I called, so yay me. But definitely an upset in most other people's eyes, and it makes the Jaguars now the leader of the AFC South, and their game coming up at the end of the season could be winner take all. Then we have out west with the 49ers. We're playing host to the Commanders, and Purdy once again, just doing what he had to do. He had problems in the first half, but after that, they got in sync. He had over 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Kittle was his favorite target. Of course, he had both of those touchdowns, 120 yards. As San Francisco was just able to just maintain a nice, steady pace. Heineke did start for the Commanders. He did get benched. Carson Wentz did go in. They start making a comeback with Wentz, so I think Wentz is going to be starting for the rest of the season. That's for right now, I think. But the 49ers were just too much for the Commanders and beat them 37-20. We had the Big D, where the Cowboys playing host to the Eagles. The Eagles were without Jalen Hurts, who got hurt in Chicago. So Minshew, once again, is starting once again. And with this game, Philadelphia kind of changed up the offense a little bit. With Jalen Hurts, they're more of an RPO-style offense. Lets Jalen Hurts use his legs if he has to, and his arm. Minshew, not quite as mobile as Jalen. So they kind of went with a different aspect, more for short passing attack that just picked apart the Cowboys defense. And he had a phenomenal game of over 350 yards passing. But he did cough it up quite a bit. He had 2 picks. There was like 4 or 5 turnovers that the Eagles had that just shifted this whole momentum of this game. I mean, Philly was up early. 20-17.5. Looked like it'd be a really good game. We had towards the wire. But second half turnovers really ruined any chance the Eagles had. Dallas was able to hold on and beat Philadelphia 40-34, keeping the Eagles out from clinching the division title. But a backup quarterback put up 34 points on defense of Dallas Cowboys. If the Eagles didn't have those turnovers, this could be a different style game. So the thing you got to kind of worry about with that one, Dak looked a little bit better in this game. They actually called it just right for the Cowboys, but that defense has some issues, I think, and we'll see what happens later on. But yeah, Philadelphia couldn't win with their backup, but I think they're looking pretty decent for the rest of the year. And then on Christmas Eve night, before Santa started making his runs around, he was watching the Raiders and the Steelers, and watching the emotional tribute to Franco Harris, who died a few days prior. This is the 30th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception and that playoff game way back in the day with the Raiders and Steelers, which helped move the Steelers into that 70s dynasty they created with winning 4 Super Bowls. And it was just a sloppy game. I mean, the Raiders were trying their best to kind of ruin everything. Of course, I mean, that's what the Raiders want to do. 10-3 halftime lead, but the Raiders couldn't do anything else. The Steelers defense stepped up, manhandled everything. Pickett was decent enough, 244 yards, and a touchdown, as they were just muscled their way back in and even beaten the Raiders 13-10 to keep their playoff hopes alive. And maybe Tomlin may not have a losing record, even though I already said they were going to. They keep winning. we'll see what happens. But yeah, Raiders playoff chances just kind of went almost right out the window. But Steelers win on the anniversary and paying tribute to Franco on this that Christmas Eve night game. Then on Christmas Day, we had 3 presents under the tree for games for us to watch. We start off in South Beach, where the Dolphins are playing host to the Packers. The Packers have a slim chance to make the playoffs. They have to win every single game. And almost everyone, I said almost everyone, because I was one of those as well, said, no, this is going to be Miami's game. Green Bay is starting to look pretty damn good right by now. Aaron Rodgers has got his connections with his receivers. He's able to make certain plays, even though his offensive line's a little porous. And I think that's what I really was looking at, was that offensive line in Green Bay's wasn't 100%, and I thought Miami's defense could exploit that. Not so much. I mean, it was a 20-13 lead by the Dolphins at the halftime, but they couldn't score anything else that second half. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa had 310 yards total and a touchdown for the entire game. But what killed the Dolphins was that fourth quarter. The last 3 drives Miami had, all of them interceptions. Tua didn't recognize. He couldn't get the defenders off the play with his eyes. The defenders were reading them just perfectly, or they hid just well enough where they couldn't see him, and he kept throwing picks right to his guys. He overshot a guy. And a couple of them, you didn't even see the defender. The defender just picks it off. And that was just a defensive showing by the Packers at the end of the game. They ended up winning 26-20. They continue their push. For them, they have to win every single game. And then the Seahawks and the Giants and the Commanders will have to lose. And everything's looking right now great for Green Bay. But we'll see what happens, because they still have 2 divisional opponents up next. Then we have to L.A., where the Broncos came to town, played the Rams. Baker Mayfield's third start for the Rams. Russell Wilson started, but he wasn't really there, as the Rams scored on every single possession but the last one, and they just obliterated the Broncos. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, it was... Russell Wilson, ever since he went to Denver, he's never been the same. Now, maybe he had issues in Seattle towards the end of his time frame there. That's probably why they were able to get rid of him, because they saw the writing on the wall. They saw what was coming. And he has no connection with the receivers. The offense is just inept. I don't know if he's more focused on his spiritual aspect than his playmaking aspect. I think that could be a problem. That's just me. But the Rams just looked phenomenal in this game. Even Bobby Wagner getting a pick. Former teammate of Russell Wilson up in Seattle. Like I said, they scored on every single possession, but the last one, when they just needed out, Baker had over 200 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Akers was a focal point rushing attack, over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. As the Rams crushed Denver 51-14. Then the nightcap for Christmas, you had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers heading to the desert, take on the Cardinals. And you had McSorley now starting. Murray's gone. McCoy's gone. This Cardinals offense is just on its last leg. JJ was a huge factor in the beginning of this game, as he kept getting in the backfield and disrupting things. And it was just a defensive showdown to start this game out. I mean, it was just a field goal party for the first 2 quarters. It was 6-6. No one scored the third. And then come to the fourth, that's when he finally had touchdowns scored. Connor didn't get one for the Cardinals. Went into overtime, of course, 16-all. The Cardinals couldn't do anything on their drive, and the Bucs ended up winning with a suck-up walk-off field goal, and that was it. Tampa Bay winning 19-16. Tampa Bay's inching closer to their divisional crown and hosting a playoff game, which I still think is kind of wrong. Should be the top 4 ranked there. top four winning percentages should get in. Winning division, yeah, get in the playoffs, but not host. That's just me, but that's a different subject. Just recently, J.J. Watt has said that this is his final year playing in Arizona, so I think he's going to finally hang up the cleats. With that being said, I foresee him be a first ballot Hall of Famer when his time comes. But this Arizona season is dead in the water, and there's going to be some major shakeups, like what happened in Denver. Failed to mention, but the head coach got canned. You realize that with the aspect of giving Russell Wilson a huge contract, he wasn't going anywhere. He was the head coach. So I know I kind of backtracked on you there, so apologize. But going back to anything, Tampa Bay wins, inching closer to a divisional title and a playoff berth. And then Monday night, I picked the Colts for a upset. Not so much. Herbert didn't really have. He was decent in this game, 235 yards passing, but no touchdowns and interception. It was all Eckler's doing, and the Chargers defense was just stifling the Colts all night long. As Indianapolis couldn't just put up 3 points. That's all they could muster. And the Chargers just rolled them over 20-3, clinching a playoff spot for the Chargers, giving me my fourth loss. And that just kind of puts down everything in there. And you're looking at the aspects of those heading in. You already know the Bills have won their division. The Chiefs have taken their division. And Cincinnati, Baltimore, and Chargers have all clinched playoff spots. So the North Division is still up in the air. You still have a couple other divisional games, or wildcard teams still battling it out. As well, you got Jacksonville, Tennessee battling for the South. I mean, so there's still a few more races coming into play for the AFC. On the other side, Minnesota and San Francisco clinched their division titles. Philly and Dallas have clinched playoff berths. I think Phil's going to end up clinching the division here next week. And there's still a nice collection of teams still battling it out. In terms of the NFC South, it's a 3-team race. And there's going to be a battle between Tampa Bay and Carolina next week to kind of put things in perspective. The Giants do have a slight edge over everyone, being 8-6-1. Right behind them is Washington at 7-7-1. Gives them a unfair advantage, basically. We still got Detroit and Green Bay and Seattle all battling for that last position. So it's going to be fun to watch these last couple of games, kind of see how things kind of go from there. Just a while to point out that the having J.J. Watt saying this, he is stepping down and retiring after this. Kind of puts things in there. Hackett being fired in Denver was another, I think, surprise. I'm surprised nothing's happened so far in Arizona in terms of their either coaching or office in terms of trying to figure out what's going on. And we'll just kind of see how things kind of play out from here. And yeah, I mean, 12-4, not bad. Duplicating what I did last time, so next week's game should be nice and interesting. And we'll try to get that video to you here shortly to coincide with another grand week, especially, that New Year's weekend. So we'll be partying and all that, fun jazz when it comes to all that. Especially have an interesting Thursday night game. But hey, just let me know down below which game did you enjoy watching over the Christmas weekend. Which team do you think have a shot at getting in? Do you think Rodgers and Brady will still both make the playoffs? Or is one of them want to get in? I know one of you commented they don't want none of them in, but I have a feeling Brady's going to get in. I don't think Rodgers will. Only time will tell. Leave a comment down below. While you're there, you can also share this video with friends and family. It helps the channel out. You also hit the thumbs up once again. Once you subscribe, make sure you click that bell and turn on notifications, let you know next time I post any more content on this channel. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.